Okay, this is a quick look at allamslaw.com, and I'm going to go through the errors in the code first, and I'm going to come back and talk about the design. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the W3C markup thing here, and the W3C was started in this document. It's not even going to, it looks like it's got so many errors that it's not even able to pull that up. So let's put it in a couple places here and come back. So the way we're going to do this, let's copy the code here. This come over here. And man, this thing's got a lot of, this is WordPress. WordPress is probably it's the #1 platform in the world for getting hacked. Just using it makes you a potential victim for one of the biggest hacker groups in the world. At one time, WordPress was, about 20 years ago, WordPress was the best thing going because the average person, the average web developer had no idea how to build a content management system. So when WordPress came along, a lot of people, a lot of web developers started using it and pushing it to their customers and stuff. And again, the reason being was they didn't know how to build their own content management system. But the setup from the beginning, because anybody can make a WordPress plugin, that means that it's not secure. 3 or 4 times a month, you have to upgrade your WordPress. The reason you're upgrading it isn't because the WordPress is getting better each time. The reason you have to upgrade it is because 3 or 4 times a month, they find bad code that could potentially get the site hacked. So you've got to constantly upgrade the WordPress platform and the plugins. And if somebody makes a plugin and they don't upgrade it or change, and you don't know who's making the plugins either, so you're using a lot of plugins that you know nothing about the author. So that means, to start with, right off the bat, that you're depending on a lot of different people that you don't know to make sure you don't get hacked. And like I said, anybody can make the plugin, and you don't know if they're upgrading it, if they're taking care of it. You don't know if they coded it correctly at the beginning. So it's the most hacked platform in the world. 98% of all the hacks in the world happen on WordPress. It's all those platforms like WordPress, the Shopify, Wix, the Drupal, all those platforms that are made for the masses are just bad. They're just, the chances of you getting hacked increase greatly just by using them. But let's go back to the code and not criticize WordPress too much. This right here, you can't have errors. One error, and W3C was made by the same guy who invented the web. It's not Al Gore, but the W3C sets the standards for the entire internet. And they work with browsers, they work with Google, they work with Amazon, they work with all these big companies and everything, because in order for everything to work together, you've got to have standards. If you're a professional web developer, if you're a professional writer, if you're a writer at all, if you write an article, normally you're going to spell check it. Normally you're going to make sure that the grammar is correct, and they've got all these tools that will do that. Well, the code is the same way. You've got all these, you got a lot of tools that'll check the code, but W3C or W3 sets the standards for checking the code. These are the standards that everybody else works off of. So if you're a professional web developer, the same as you're a professional writer, if you write something and you don't check the code, you look foolish. Yet despite that, none of the web developers check the code on their website. As a matter of fact, when I got in a debate with some guys not long ago who were web developers, saying that I was trying to set new standards, when W3 is the standards, and if you don't validate your code, then, for one, W3 sets the standards for the ADA compliance. So to be ADA compliant, you have to be W3 to start with. You've got to be W3 valid. So as we come through here, we've got 7 errors, 18 warnings, 35 messages. Some of this stuff is easy to fix. It's just not doing it correctly. But like that slash should not be there. That's not supposed to be there. And if we look through here, we've got a warning for the unnecessary for JavaScript resources. You've got more info on the trailing slash. So all those slashes, it looks like most of the warnings are for that slash. I mean, most of the info things. The type attribute for the style element is not needed and should be omitted. Why would you put the style? That is not. See, that's why you should check your code, because you're doing things that don't even make any sense. The type attribute is unnecessary for JavaScript. I mean, you got to, every line of, when you write some code, every space, every dash, I'll show you in a minute how it affects. Right here, we've got a straight in tag. So that means that they closed it twice. We've got a style inside the body. The style goes in the header. It doesn't go in the body. We've got style not allowed as a child of the body. That's the same thing. They're putting the style inside the body. You've got a straight in tag. So that means that they closed the header tag twice. And we've got a straight tag for the body. A cannot recover. Okay, so we didn't get all the errors. This says it could, even though we copied and pasted the code in here, the code is messed up so badly that it messed up W3 again, and W3 could not recover from the last error it gave, and they quit checking it. So I would have to go through the code here and start cleaning it up just to try and get it to work so that we could check it. This is the title tag here. It says Alabama bankruptcy, divorce, Social Security, lawyers. What's used here should also be used in the H1 tag. So you've got header tags. You've got H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. And that first H1 should actually be right here in this header. So, but I'll get into that later. If we look at if the first content pane isn't under a second, so this has to be in under a second, or Google will not be able to spider the website. If they can't spider the site, then you've got all these pages here. We've got articles. And so you shouldn't have but 5 links across the top. When you give people too much information, they get overwhelmed with the information. But all these articles that you've got here, Google's going to have a hard time spidering the site, because normally the amount of time that they spend on the site is how fast the site loads, so that you limit how much they can spider and how much they can index. If they can't find the pages, it's impossible for them to rank the pages. So when you've got slow load times, they're not able to find these pages. If we look, and you see, I'll get it. Let's go through the, and see the largest content pane's in 6.2 seconds. If the first content pane isn't in 2.5 seconds, then you're already losing. There's a ranking penalty. You lose 53% of your traffic at 3 seconds. And that was a test done by Google when Google was trying to figure out what was going on with their ad network. They had people complaining, hey, look, I'm spending all this money, I'm not making any money. So Google started testing it. And what they found out was that if a website takes just 3 seconds to load, it will lose 53% of its traffic. And that's why they added the ranking penalty after 2.5 seconds. And you can look, I mean, there's so much stuff. I mean, again, they weren't even able to check the site with this tool because of all the errors. But if you look, you've got Mophie said for every 100 milliseconds, they saw a 1% increase in conversions. So if they improve the load time, and this is done, a lot of web designers will say, mine's good, look. This has got to be in mobile. Google ranks and checks websites mobile first. So all this is about mobile, and more people use mobile than they use desktop. So make sure that, and this is the pagespeedweb.dev, and this is Google's tool here. So this is Google's Lighthouse tool, but you've got to make sure that you're checking it in mobile. But if we look right here, we've got 50% faster. They had 12% more sales. This was auto anything. 20% faster, they got 10% more conversions. 40% and that's Furniture Village. This is Pinterest. Pinterest said that 40% faster meant 15% more signups. And Cook said for every 850 millisecond improvement in load times, they saw a 7% increase in conversions. So 1 second slowness equal 10% less users. That's the BBC. So this is somebody who's writing articles, and they're saying for every 1 second the website slowed down, they saw 10% more or less users. And the speed on this website is 6.2 seconds. So you can imagine how much traffic, rankings, and everything else you're losing just because of speed. This is let's see, you've got a 2 second delay in load times will increase bounce rates by 103%. And then the 53% stuff, we've got the probability of bounce increases 32% as page load time comes from 1 to 3. You've got 53% of visitors are abandoned if a mobile site takes longer than 3 seconds to load. We've got the crawl budget. Google has a crawl budget. If the website's not in under a second for the first content pane, Google will limit its crawl budget. You've got a crawl rate, a crawl depth, and a crawl timeout. And all those are affected by the load times. And then you've got your core web vitals that are also affected by load times. Bounce rate is bounce rate. Google uses bounce rate as a ranking factor. So if your bounce rate goes up, and there's nothing that affects bounce rates more than load times, and session duration is also a ranking factor. So not only is speed a ranking factor, but it also affects a lot of other stuff that's ranking factors. But let's look at the ADA compliance. As an attorney, you really don't have to worry about somebody suing you. You'd be foolish to sue an attorney because he can defend himself for free, and you would be paid an attorney to represent you that's costing you money. So you'd have to have a lot of money. Plus, it would probably be difficult to get an attorney to sue another attorney. But these are violations here. So these are things that people get sued for. Businesses get sued for. This has to be correct or you can get sued. And while it's unlikely that an attorney is going to get sued, an attorney could get fined by the government. So you could get fines, and the fines start at $50,000 a pop. So your web developer should fix this stuff. And there's simple fixes. Like this right here is saying that there's no title. All you've got to do is add a title. You add a title, and you say, for the YouTube, all you got to do is say, YouTube video about, and tell what it's about. For the Google Maps, all you got to do is say, this is a map showing, and tell the location of where it's showing. And this one would be the same. And you just type in title equals quotation marks and tell what it is. But this is a violation. And if we look right here, these are the violations. And the first one is under the 2.4.1. So that first violation right there for the frame not having the title is the 2.4.1, and that's a bypass block. And then it's also 4.1.2, the name role value. So that one is breaking two laws for that one error. And then it would keep going down right here. Let's see what's next. We've got the color contrast right here, and this right here breaks the 1.4.1. Let's see, 1.4.1, the use of color. And it's also breaking the 1.4.3, the contrast. So, and if you click on these things right here, and this is on my website, you can look at what laws they're breaking. And if you click on it, it takes you to the WCAG website where it talks about the laws that are being broken. And all you've got to do to fix that is just add a CSS code that says, hey, the A link is going to have a underline and a bold. Just underline it and bold it, and it's fixed. So that's another simple little fix that could get you fined $50,000 a pop. This is a tab index value greater than 0. This is kind of a crazy thing here. I'm not sure. I mean, when if this tab index is changed to 0, it's going to fix that error. I'm not sure why they did this. When you're on the keyboard and you're going through the keyboard and everything, then what's going to happen is this is going to affect what you go to next. So instead of you going next, if everything's set to 0, if everything on the page has a tab index of 0, then it's just going to start at the top and work its way down. But when you set this to something above 0, now it's going to be jumping around to this. This would mess up. somebody with a disability that's using a keyboard, because it's going to cause it to jump over to this instead of going down through like it would normally order. And if we look at what laws this one's breaking, I believe this is going to be over, let's see, the keyboard, the 2.1.1 keyboard. And also, I think there's another one in here. Let's see, the focus order. So it's going to break the focus order, and it's going to break that. So that one's also breaking 2 laws. And I guess that would be $50,000 a piece. So that'd be $100,000 worth of fines right there. And that's just from the web developer not taking the time to check the code. This is Google's tool here. You should be trying to get 100% across the board on this thing. This is the heading order. This is just your H1 tags. So when you come in here, you should have an H1 tag here, and the H1 tag here should be matching the H1 tag that's in your code on the title. So those two should be the same for SEO purposes, and you can only have one header tag, one H1 tag. But now the rest of the tags, you can have as many as you want, but they have to be in order. So like this could be an H2, or you could have these as H2s, and this could be an H3. And you could go back to an H2 here, and that's fine. You've got H2, H3, and then back to H2, and then you could have H3, then you could have an H4 if you wanted one, and H5. You could even go up to H6, but they've got to be in an order. And if they're not in the correct order, then that's a problem. And that is the violation on the header tags. And I believe that's going to be on this first one right here. Let's see, info and relationship. So that's going to be on the info and relationship that's not correct. And the reason that's important is because if you're using a screen reader, the screen reader is looking at those tags and it's using those tags as the headers. And if they're not in order, it's going to mess up the screen reader. Over here, we've got another error. This is, let's see, details. This is going to be missing the form label. The missing form label, I believe, is going to be 1.3.1, the info and relationship, and the 4.1.2, the name and role value right here. So both those are being violated because of the, where am I at? Because this tag right here is wrong. The way you fix that tag, all you got to do is on the label, you add a for attribute, and on the input, you add an ID attribute, and you hook them together. So the label attribute could be for equals search, and then the input attribute could be ID equals search, and now you've hooked those two together, and that's it. That takes care of that problem. We've got a lot of contrast errors here. The contrast errors, the code's messed up so bad this thing's not even showing me where the arrows are at. The contrast errors is just where the colors are too close together. The background, there's not enough difference between the background color and the foreground color. But I'm not seeing where those arrows are coming from right here unless there's some hidden text somewhere. But if you fixed all the code, that error may go away. But again, one error can prevent it. One of these W3C validation errors can prevent it. And we don't know how many errors there are. We'd have to fix these errors here first and then run it again, fix some more errors and run it again, and to find all those errors. So I'm not sure exactly where these errors the contrast errors are coming from or what's causing it, because the code's messed up so bad. We've got 34 alerts. All these alerts should be fixed too. I mean, if you look at these alerts right here, you've got all kinds of alerts in here. And a lot of the web developer is going to say things like, oh, no, nobody does that. But it's the law, and you get fined if you don't. And 98% of websites are not ADA compliant, and that's because most web developers don't do the job that they're supposed to be, that they were hired to do. They don't even check their code. This right here, we've got image optimizations. You've got 172 images that need to be fixed. So none of these images are optimized correctly. So that would also speed the site up if you fix those errors there. We've got oversized images. You've got 2. You got below the fold images. You've got 9. The below the fold images, you should be using lazy load. You just put lazy load at the end of those, and that'll fix that. The DOM elements, 879, that's a heap. The total JS, wow, 1,106. The rules count, you've got 7,807 rule counts, complex selectors. Color count, you should only have 3 colors. You've got 434 different colors. That's insane there. You've got old prefixes that are outdated, 858. Duplicated selectors, so you only have to write the code one time, but you've duplicated it 64 times, and you've got 64 duplicated properties as well. Web fonts, you've got 5. You should be using web safe fonts, but you shouldn't have more than 3 fonts. What else have we got? Let's see. The use of important. You should not. CSS is written in a way so that the CSS closest to the HTML, so the latest CSS you write overwrites the oldest CSS. And you shouldn't be duplicating anything. You should just write it once. But because they're duplicating so many things, when they duplicate something and it doesn't work, what they're doing is they're using the important tag. You should never use important. And they're used it 335 times. So all those should be, there should be 0 on the important thing. There should not be any of these being used at all. So, I mean, if it was me, this is what I would do. I would have my web developer, and this is the WordPress stuff here. You see WordPress is the most hacked website in the world. 90% of websites that get hacked. All of these are made for the masses. All of these are just made for the masses frameworks. WordPress is the absolute worst framework in the world. I mean, it's outdated. It's 20 years old. You don't have it. I mean, the average WordPress website has about 50 plugins. Every single plugin is made for the masses, and every single plugin adds more code to the website. So you shouldn't have. I mean, the plugins are just every plugin is going to slow the website down. If you're not keeping it upgraded, every plugin then becomes a liability because you could get hacked through that plugin. So if you got to constantly be upgrading it, and if you do some custom coding, that means that instead of you advancing and doing more stuff, for example, let's go with the Django. The Django is written in Python. Python is the #1 programming language in the world for AI. So if you built a website out of Python, then now you could start using the AI stuff. Right here we've got the client login. The client login takes me to a totally different website. If you want to control everything on this website, you want to be the one in charge. So let's go back over here and look at this for a second. When you've got somewhere in here, it's going to tell us how many domain names we're using. Let's see, rule counts, complex selectors, CSS, and I don't see it. But somewhere in here, it's going to say different domain names. This has 18 different domain names. If everything is on this domain name, then you're controlling everything that's going on. If you're pulling content from 18 different domain names, that means if one of those websites are slow to load, if one of those websites go offline, if one of those websites have a problem, it's going to affect your website and you've got 0 control over it. There's nothing you can do about it. So you want everything on your website. Then what you could do, well, let's look at this. Okay, first off, I would limit this to 5. I would take the logo, shrink it down, because once somebody's on the website, there's no reason for the branding and everything else. You want them to have a good experience. So this could go in the header here. The practice areas, the idea is that each page, so right here, if we go to the video library, if each one of these had its own page, then what you would do is you would design it and lay it out, and then that you have the bigger the site is, the more likely, the more links you've got, the more pages you've got to rank. So it's kind of like going fishing. And if you're going fishing and you throw in 10 rods, then you're 10 times more likely to catch a fish because you've got rods all in the lake now. If you're a if you own a business and you've got a website that's got 1,000 pages, you're 1,000 times more likely to catch a customer because you've got 1,000 more rods in the Google swimming pool. So the more pages you have, the better it is. And it's not just that, you also control the flow of the link juice. So if you look right here, every page starts with some type of link juice. It's a mathematical formula. You're going to start with some type of link juice. Every page is going to bleed some link juice. So like this one right here is bleeding link juice. This link to your web designer, that's going to hurt you because you're bleeding link juice, and you're also linking to a website that has nothing to do with attorneys, nothing to do with bankruptcy or the other stuff that you're doing here. So if you took this website to start with, this is the most important part of the page here. This is the most important part of the page. So let's go to the bankruptcy. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take and just look at a different way that this website could be designed. I'm not saying this is the way it should be designed. One, it's a small website. To search this website is not even necessary, and that's got an error on it on top of that. So that could get you fined $50,000 for something that's probably not even being used. So if we took and we redesigned it, and this is this page. This isn't the home page. I'm talking about redesigning this page right here. So if you took and redesigned this page, then what you end up with, and let's do this right here real fast. Let me get this link here. As you design the page, what you should be doing is checking to make sure that the code on the page has got valid code. So you would come in here and we would say, let's see, I think that's under attorneys, bankruptcy, and home. So you want to check and make sure that this is what a page looks like when it doesn't have any errors, no warnings, or anything else. The Google page, when you finish designing the page with the stuff, you should be able to check the website right here. And let's go back over here to this website here that's online. When you check the website, it should show 100%. If it doesn't show 100%, the web designer needs to fix it. So, and it's not just, if we check right here, we can also, now this website right here is about 3 years old. Wow, it's not even going to come up. And I don't know I don't remember the name of it or how to spell it. Let me come over here and try. This website's like 3 or 4 years old here. But if we take, see, this is 100% across the board, 0.9 milliseconds for the load time. I don't know what this one's going to be, but this is a complicated site here. This is a shopping cart for a motorcycle dealership. It's got 360-degree stuff on it and everything else. But what you're looking at is you want it to get 100% across the board, just like the other website just did. It should get 100% on everything. So if I come over here, well, let's just check this one. And this one may have errors. I don't think I've ever checked it. I haven't checked it in 3 years, I mean. So it's got one alert, one suspicious alternative text is what this one's showing. So it's got one alert and it's 3 years old, been sitting here and not been updated or anything else. So, and this one right here gets 100% and it's 0.9 seconds and 1 second. And this one right here, if I was building it now, what I would be shooting for is 0.8 milliseconds on everything. So what you're wanting is under a second on all this. So this should be 0.8, this should be 0.8. But this is, I mean, you see, and then if you check the errors, I mean, this thing shouldn't have any errors. If I come in here, whoops. Well, here we go. And again, this one's like 3 years old, but yeah, it doesn't have any errors. I was a little worried about it. And again, this bothers me here. We started that website, and then the customer we were building it for went out of business and never finished it, and it's just been sitting online. But you can see, I mean, the load times are good, and that's what you're looking for. So now let's go back over here to what we were looking at. So, and this image just got, the reason this is to the left right here is my designer isn't in, it's the weekend, and my designer's not here, so I kind of threw an image on here. But normally what I would do is I would have, one, you've got 5 links here. If they want something else, they can get it from the footer in the bottom of the page. And then what you would have is you walk them through the process. So you say, okay, really what I want to happen is I want to try and collect, if they want to schedule a call, then you have a calendar set up and everything else so that if you click on schedule a call, it's going to take you to a page where they can get your phone number. If they want to call immediately, they can call immediately. But what you would really like to do is have them pick a date and schedule the call and everything. But with this right here, you can walk them through exactly. And what I was fixing to say was this is off to the left. The reason it's off to the left is I would normally have my designer come in here and design something like an attorney standing in front of a courthouse, have the courthouse here, have some pretty grass or something over in here, or a pretty tree, and then have an attorney and the client's all happy because he got what he was looking for. But because I didn't have a designer on staff during the weekend, I couldn't do that, so I just threw an image on here. But from here, and this is just thrown together, so any of this could be changed. This is just a rough idea. But what would happen is you would enter a zip code, and then it would take you to a page. So if I entered the zip code for one of your practice areas, it would take me to a specific page where it would give me more information, but now it would be for that area exactly. It would be another image, and then it would ask me for something else. It would say, okay, what do you want to do? You want to file bankruptcy for this or for that or whatever the information you would need to collect in a phone call, this thing would automatically collect for you. Then you could have it from there, take that information and put it into your own content management system, CRM, customer relationship management system. And you could design it any way you wanted to design it. And with that, now you're able to take that customer, it would send you an email, so you've got all the information that the customer put into the form, but it would also put all that information into a database, and it would lock it up because, like I said, the Django is the most, if you're using Python and you put it with the Django is the absolute most secured system that there is. So now you've got Python and the Django, and you're building everything from scratch. So you can make it look any way you want. You can make it act any way you want. You're doing the programming on the back end and the design on the front end. And now you can take this information, once they've filled out all the stuff, it can schedule the call. So now when you get ready to call, not only do you have all the stuff ready, but you could even have an AI that's putting whatever you've got to do first, it's ready to go. So when you're making the phone call, if they say, yeah, let's do this, then you've got most of the paperwork, most of the stuff you need already put together in the system in the back end. So everything's ready to go 100%. And then the other thing is, each one of these, when you come in here and you say, okay, we've got these articles. So, and I would do on this right here, if I'm on desktop, it's different if I'm on a cell phone. Okay, if it's a cell phone, do one by one. But if I'm on a desktop, you probably ought to do 4 across or 3 across at least. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, then I could see all the different articles at one time. But also, if you set it up with an AI again, you can have an AI pulling in ideas and putting it into the database. And then all you've got to do is go through, you read the article. If you like it, you might have to do some tweaks and stuff. Then you hit publish and boom, it's online. So now this website could be getting bigger by the day. You could be adding 5, 6 articles every single day. And again, that's more places for you to rank. It's more pages because you're able to control the flow of information. So let's say you've got this page right here set up. You've got your free consultation, what we do, how we help, Alabama bankruptcy. So this right here would be your bankruptcy page. And you would each page would have its own setup. So you'd come back over here, your practice areas, you'd have in the home page, I would do this more like the bankrupt page, but for everything. And then you would have, each one of these pages would be set up the same way. So then when you came in here and this, you would have, what's going on here? Okay, this had to refresh it. I made some changes to it when I was trying to put it together right here. But when you're coming through here and you're looking at it, what you would have is you would have your videos here. So now you're linking to your videos, but each video is on its own page. So by having each video on its own page, that's another page that's got page rank. Every page you add to the website for Google to be able to do their mathematical formula, as soon as they find a page, they add some type of ranking value. So let's say 0.0001. So that is link juice that can then be flowed to the other pages. So if each one of these is its own page, now it can flow back into the home page. So then each one of these would be its own page, and this would be the videos. Then you would come down here and you would get to the articles. And again, each article could be being set up by the AI, and then all you're doing is reading them and making sure they're okay before you approve them. Again, this image is just something I threw up here because, again, I didn't have a designer. So from here, and there wasn't enough text to make this work out like I was hoping. But then what you would have is nobody optimizes their images. So the more images you have on the page, that's just like an easy ranking thing. A lot of people do image searches. Nobody optimizes for images. So that means that it's easy traffic. It's just easy to rank for images. So by breaking up your content with images, it allows you to rank the images now fairly easy. At the bottom of every page, then you have your call to action. The call to action is saying, hey, if you want to do this, then let's do it. Now this links back to the home page. So this comes back into this page. So now I'm flowing link juice back to the first page. So I flow it to this page. It then gets more link juice because this page is starting with some type of link juice, but I just added to it. So if this one started out at 0.001, now it's at 0.003, and then it flows that same link juice back to the home page because I'm linking back to the home page, and now it's coming back in at like 0.005 because we're adding up the link juice that was already on that page. So by doing it this way, you turn around and now you're able to rank for all of your main keywords. So your practice areas, each practice area has its own page designed to convert traffic. So whatever and so that's the other thing. If the content you need for bankruptcy is different from family law, from personal injury, from the Social Security disability, if all those are different, then now you're able to design your own homepage with different questions and everything else, all going into the back end, all going into your own CRM system, and all creating all the information you need to make your phone calls. So, and again, this is just an idea that was thrown together kind of quickly. So you could change this to however you wanted to, but the idea is that one, it's error free. So if it's error free, you're able to, and you got load times in milliseconds. Now Google can find all the pages. If you're using AI to create more content, now you've got more pages for Google to find. And then all these pages are linking back to the page you're trying to rank. And then these pages, your bankruptcy pages and these pages are now linking back to your home page. So right now, your home page may rank for some stuff, but what you want to do is you want to rank this for bankruptcy, this for family law, this for personal injury, and this for Social Security disability. You want all those pages to rank in the search engines for the keywords that you're wanting to rank for. So if we come in here to bankruptcy and we say bankruptcy and we go to Google and we say, we know you're not going to rank for bankruptcy there. If we say Alabama and let's see, I doubt it's going to be ranked for AL. But see, these are the key words that you should be trying to rank for. You should be trying to rank for the main top level keywords for Alabama bankruptcy, and so you're not on the first page here. And these should be fairly easy. If the website is set up correctly, and if there shouldn't be the way these lawyers' websites are, they're so poorly designed and so poorly set up. If you set up one correctly, you should be able to rank for Alabama bankruptcy. You should be able to rank for the each one of these for the practice area of family law. And then you're also looking at increasing your rankings, your conversions, all that stuff. Alabama family law, are we there? By designing the website correctly, by adding more pages to the website, by getting your images to rank, you should be able to rank on the first page for all those keywords, especially, I mean, it's just Alabama family law. And what did we type in the, let's see here. If we do it this way, I think I got too many spaces in there. We're not on the front page of that one either. We say bankruptcy. Let's see. No, I mean, at the very least, you should be on the front page for those. And I can dig through the site more. These tools, they don't check everything. That they check some of the stuff, but I mean, they check like 20% of the stuff that you should be doing. But before I dug into it deeper, I would say at least fix the, and let's go back to the errors. At least fix the errors that are on the website now that these tools are showing. I mean, one, these errors make it easy for somebody to sue you or fine you because they can find them easy without doing any digging. But, and why is it showing 3? It's not going to tell me why. A form control does not have a corresponding label. The way this code is, it may have been written 3 times. But I would start by fixing these errors. I would, I mean, that would be the least I would do. I would try and get the correct thing. If a web developer designs a website, the first thing they should do, if he's a professional, and they're welcome to call me if they have a problem with what I'm saying. I will gladly debate anybody on this that wants to debate it. If you're a professional web developer, then you should code to standards. If you're talking to somebody and you say, what makes a good website? Then you have to say it's coded correctly. And then you say, well, how do you know it's coded correctly? Well, the only way to make sure it's coded correctly is that it meets all the standards for the coding. And how do you tell if it meets all the standards? You check it on W3. So if you're a professional, you should check to make sure that you at least don't have 2 closing header tags and 2 closer body tags, and that at least the document's able to check. I mean, this says it cannot recover after the last error. This isn't even able to check all the content. This got to the body tag and stopped. It couldn't check anything past the body tag. I mean, this is so if you're a professional web developer, then you should validate your code. And you should fix all the errors that you find. You should not leave any errors on the website. And you should make sure that it's coded to the standards that are set by the internet. The standards are, and this is set by Google, the first content paint has to be in under a second. And the largest content paint has to be under 2.5 seconds. That's the standards. If you want to do it correctly, you should be shooting for 8 milliseconds. Then, to keep your customer from getting fined, just to make sure they don't get fined, you should make sure that there are no accessibility errors. One accessibility error for each error on the website, your customer could potentially get fined $50,000 per incident. So you should at the very least make sure it doesn't have any accessibility issues. You should make sure that you're not writing duplicate selectors or complex selectors, or your color count should be 3. How in the world do you have a 434 color count? You should make sure that the images that you put on the website are optimized to the correct standards. I mean, this should be the bare minimum. Going too far is if I say, hey, you should take the time to understand the customer's business and help them lay it out in a way that it helps them convert more traffic. That is debatable. That we could argue about. You could say, hey, that's not my job. That's not what they're paying me for. Okay, I get that. But you should be coding to the correct standards. You shouldn't have 64 duplicated selectors, 64 duplicated properties. You shouldn't have 850 old prefixes. And for sure, you should not be using the at important, or where is it? Let's see, that's not the one. color context similar at important duplicate. Oh, the important tag to overwrite your own code. I mean, come on, dude. At the very least, don't have to. You should not. 335 times you had to use the important code to overwrite your own code. That should be. This should have 100%. Any tool that you can check your website in, if you're a professional web developer, you should be checking your code and fixing the errors. I mean, if I'm a professional writer, I would check my writing. I would make sure I would spell check it, and then I would check to make sure that I'm using all the stuff like I'm supposed to. I wouldn't attempt to send an article to a customer that they're going to proofread, that they're going to look at, that's not spell checked and been checked. But because the customers don't know how to check their websites, the web developers feel like it's no problem. We can leave all these errors in here because the customer doesn't know how to check the website. And that's wrong, especially when it can get them fined and sued. That's my 2 cents on the whole thing. If you need any help with anything, if you want me to dig deeper into the website, if you have some ideas and want me to tweak some stuff and show you what it would look like with those ideas, if you need help with anything, I'll just let me know. And if your web developer wants to debate me on any of this stuff, one, make sure he's checking it in mobile. If you click on desktop, that's not what Google uses anyway, but it's also going to give a lot better ranking right here because it's using the internet, it's using the desktop stuff and everything else. But this is not what Google uses for ranking the stuff. So if you're on desktop, then why did it go back to mobile? Looks like it's just going to keep going to mobile for me. I guess because I never use desktop, it won't even go to mobile, the desktop. But anyway, if they're checking it, make sure it's been checked in mobile and not desktop. And I'll send you the link for all these things, but I'll debate your developer, your designer, your SEO people, anybody that believes for 1 second that these aren't the standards and would be foolish enough to debate me on this. I would love to hear from you. So that's my 2 cents on this website. I mean, it's just full of errors. It's full of coding errors. That could cost the customer money, and y'all left it like this, and I think it's just wrong.